Few things affect people more than the topic of money. Yet, we don't talk much about it. We trudge along and hope things work out, but never really know for sure. I think it's time for some answers. Hi, I'm Tom Stone, and welcome to Talking About Dollars and Sensibility. Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company. Your loan, on time, every time. We're located at 175 North Main Street, right here in Heber City. Our phone number is easy. It's 435 654 9979. That's 654 9979. Come by and see us anytime. We're next to the car wash on Main Street in the Tate Building. Today, I've invited Jeff Findarle. Jeff's with Allstar Realty. He's also the president of the Wasatch Board of Realtors. Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, you betcha.
Tell us about yourselves. Maybe there's someone who doesn't know you.
Well, yeah, there's a few people I'm sure don't know me, but I am a transplant to the Valley. Been here about 10 years. Had a corporation in California for about 25 years, and basically tried to retire, and my wife didn't want me in the house anymore, so I went back into real estate and have been working here, specifically in the Valley. I'm trying to help people live their dreams.
And the company you work with?
Presently, I'm with Allstar Realty. We used to be Remax, and we changed that over in 2007, and just been trudging forward and doing great.
And you're also the president of the Wasatch Board of Realtors.
That's correct. Basically, your term with the Wasatch Board of Realtors, you get elected as president-elect for a year, so you're on the board. Then you're a president for a year, and then you're post-president for a year. So it's really a 3-year term, and it basically means that I'm the one that people complain to, and I'm the one that also has to put the foot down on some people that if they may not be doing the correct things.
So just make sure people understand. So that means there is a board of realtors here in Wasatch County.
There's a very active board of realtors in Wasatch County. We kind of had a revamp about 4 or 5 years ago. And we have a total of about 65 to 70 members. It averages about that. These are local realtors that live here in this valley that are here to serve those that live in this valley. And so it's important. We feel that the residents of Wasatch County know that we have a board here that supports them and that puts a lot of time and effort into the community themselves to help out.
Why was the decision made to create your own board of realtors versus being a part of the Park City Board, Salt Lake Board, or Utah County?
Well, we wanted to be heard, and we wanted to be able to serve our residents of our county. We didn't feel that, being a part of the Park City Board, and that's been kind of an ongoing issue for years. It's kind of a thorn in some people's back, essentially. We didn't feel that Park City would, even though we're close, we're over the hill.
Yep.
And so we do have a say. Some of the things we do is we have a president's call to action. Once a month, we're on the phone with all the presidents of the boards with the Utah Association of Realtors President Rick Southwick. And it's pretty fun because we just have a hash out. What's working, what's not. Have you had this problem? That kind of a thing. And so that's good. And we can also get things out from our real estate agents. They'll send me emails and say, hey, can you talk about this? And so we get answers quickly. We attend a lot of the UAR meetings. We attend legislature meetings, on the Hill at the state capitol. And so we try to support our local residents as best we can.
Give us an example. Give us an example of something that is something that needs to be heard, that you're taking to the Hill, that maybe someone in Wasatch County says, oh, I can see why that's important.
Well, there's been a couple of things. UAR, which is Utah Association of Realtors, and NAR, the National Association of Realtors, we work pretty close together with those two associations on issues on Capitol Hill. And, I didn't realize that the dollars that we put into lobbying for real estate issues is the highest amount of dollars spent on Capitol Hill in the state of Utah.
Really?
For the Association of Realtors. And it's to save people's rights, property owners' rights. And so one of the things is, they were talking about getting rid of you're able to write off your interest for your state tax. So we lobbied against that. They were talking about a school tax for new homes, increasing. If you can imagine, when you went to go build a brand new house, your permit fee would be an additional $5,000 to $6,000.
On top of what we already have been doing.
On top of what we're already doing, and they're really high now.
Yeah. So truly, you're out there saying, hey, we got to make sure we keep the costs low on spending for the government, so it doesn't affect the house prices, doesn't affect each individual person's property rights. Keep them there. So
Exactly.
the interests are not just for the real estate agent's commission that someone
No.
may have thought.
Actually, as realtors, we kind of have a jingle that goes around the community. We work for free until we get paid. And, but the whole idea in real estate agent is to protect the rights and the money of our clients, whether it's a buyer or a seller. We try to get the best deal for them. We want to protect them as far as what they're purchasing, We see a lot of homes. A lot of times a couple comes in and it's the first home they've ever bought. They have no idea what they're getting into. I don't know if you can remember, Tom, when you bought your first house, it was pretty stressful. And we try to make that a little bit easier for them so they can understand it and feel comfortable about the decision.
When you see the number, 6 figures, and you've only, had a budget in the, a couple thousand here and there kind of a thing, and all of a sudden you're going to spend 100, 200, 300,000. You're like, oh my goodness, what am I doing?
Exactly. And so as agents, we look at, the whole situation as far as, and we pretty much tell them the way it is. This is probably not a good deal, or it could be a good deal, but you still have a lot of emotional things. And we try to take the emotions out of it, look at a logical standpoint. Another thing is, and I'm going to plug Guild Mortgage here just because the fact that we do use you, you're a local, and it's really, really, really important for buyers out there to know to use a local company for their lending. I've got 2 deals going right now that it has been so stressful. One was a Midwest bank, another one was Quicken Loans, and everything blows up at the end. I can't go over to Tom's office, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, Tom, we need to take care of this, and you take care of it." These are people I don't even know, and usually getting 5 different loan officers on every loan. So, we can suggest to people. We don't make people, but we suggest to people that what's going to work for them and make it the easiest.
The hard part about that is everyone has to make that decision at the beginning. And whoever does the best sales job, or maybe even someone they know, is how it goes. Let me go down. Let me kind of give that back to you a little bit. I want to finish up the conversation about a Wasatch Board of Realtors, and not going with the Park City Board, not going with the Salt Lake City Board, that kind of a thing. Talk about listing your home with a local agent and having a buyer's representative through a local one versus someone from out of the valley.
Well, number one, for people who are here living in this valley, our local agents know the market. Our local agents live here. They shop at Smith's. They go to the drugstore. They live here, and so they do spend money here. That's one thing that's kind of important. So in the end, when we do get paid, it stays in the community. Number two is the fact that, like a listing, just for instance, if you were to list a property, say with, Joan so-and-so from Salt Lake up here, she's not a member of our board of realtors. Every Tuesday we have what's called Caravan, and we usually get 15 to 20 local agents. These are the agents that are really actively working full-time to sell properties, show up. We do giveaways to get agents there, that kind of a thing. But the thing that's important is they see your home first off. And I cannot tell you how many times we're walking through a house and you see agents, wow, I got to show this to my client. Well, the Salt Lake agent or the Utah County agent or a Park City agent doesn't have that ability to see that house. So essentially, as agents, we're able to get a hold of our buyers quicker, and oftentimes we'll see stuff that goes on under contract before we even get back to the office by the time we're done with our Caravan.
Awesome. So there's all sorts of reasons.
Yep.
And the retail businesses here in town, through the Chamber of Commerce specifically, have a shop local thing going on.
Exactly.
And I certainly believe you have to earn that right. It isn't just because they need to earn that right. But the professional community is one that I would like to push, and that's one reason why I'm doing this radio show, is that the professional community, in my opinion, which is 20 years in this valley, and I know everyone from real estate agents to attorneys to financial planners, as you've heard on the show, and in my opinion, in my experience, and what other people have said in other places, we have the top-notch, honest, good, hardworking, educated people. So I'm touting that over and over again. I think it's
one other thing too on the board of realtors that we're responsible for is making sure that our agents are current on all their recurring education. So we offer a lot of education monthly. We have recurring education, and we're responsible to police that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a person is getting to the point where they haven't got it done, then we make sure that they get it done.
Awesome. Tell me your opinion / feeling and certainly experience of what the market's doing in Wasatch County, and then expand it from what you hear to the state of Utah. What's going on?
Well, essentially, Wasatch County, we've gone through the crunch just like everybody else over the past few years. About June, July of 2012, the market turned. And we've had a steady increase up and through about March of 2013. Surprisingly, the market has actually declined a little bit since that point till today, and that goes with the number of listings. It goes with the price, the median price. One thing you have to understand, Wasatch, we have a lot of homes up here, but we don't sell 3,000 homes a month. We're lucky if we sell 100 homes a month. And so it doesn't take very much to change that market. I will tell you that ever since middle of 2012, we have a ton of buyers looking for homes up here. The advantage we have in Wasatch County is everybody that lives on the other side of the Wasatch Front wants to live in Heber Valley.
That's very true.
They do. They want to live here because they're sick and tired of the smog down there. The Mormon 500, I'm sorry, I don't want to get religious here, but that a lot of traffic down there. And everybody wants to live here. And so we have a real interesting niche up here. Our market is held real stable. Our prices are up probably 13 to 15% over, a year and a half ago. And it's a supply and demand. Oftentimes, we meet at caravans and everybody's like, can somebody please list a house? I've got clients that need to buy it. That's a good thing to hear.
What's the sweet spot? What's the sweet spot price range that homes go the fastest?
The fastest is, of course, the lower end. I've done a lot of short sales, and if you were in real estate and you were full time, you did short sales. That's what we did the last 5 or 6 years. We have homes that were beautiful homes. We were selling for $150,000, $160,000. Those homes today, they're probably $220,000. I did a search recently for a client, Camas Valley, Heber Valley, $250,000 or less. They wanted a half acre, didn't care about the age or the size of the house. And there was 5 homes that were for sale that weren't brand new builds. So it tells you that there's not a lot of stuff on the market, and there's plenty of buyers to buy your house.
So listing a home might be the time now.
It's a great time to list a home. In the springtime this year, we're expecting, quite large influx of buyers, just as everything starts greening up. People have to understand that down in the valley, it's already started greening up. So they're getting spring fever down there already. We may not get spring fever up here for another month or so,
right? But
you need to be ready for those buyers when they come up on the market, so you have your property ready there.
How important is it for timing? In other words, when you list your home, how long it stays on market, how important is timing?
Well, it's always best, I think, to list a home during the busy season. People have to understand there's a buyer out there for your home right now, probably, every day of the year. If you're priced correctly, the buyer that's going to buy your house will walk through your house within 2 weeks if it's priced correctly. And that's why you need to rely on your agents to do good comparable market analysis to give you, the good, the bad, and the ugly of your house. For instance, I had a client that called me yesterday and cut me off if we don't have time for this. But
go for it.
He recently took a job out of state, and she's still working here. And I went over there. They want to sell their house so they can move over there and buy a house. Well, they owe almost $250,000 on their house. My comparative market analysis came in at $185,000. So this is one of those homes they bought in 2007. Prices were up. They're upside down. They're going to have to do a short sale. Before we got in the short sale, though, we talked about other options. There's a lot of options, and that as agents, we're not just about selling your house as a short sale. We're about doing the best thing for whatever we can figure out for this client. So we looked at the options of doing a mortgage modification, which is hard to do.
Right.
In this case, it didn't work out because he's moving. They're moving. The hardship in this case for this couple was, their payments are kind of high, but they can't make a payment over there on a house and a payment here. And even if they were to rent this house out, they'd be too much in the negative. So the hardship is job relocation. It'll get approved for a short sale. And the good thing is if they keep their payments up, very good chance they can go move right into purchasing a home over there. People
Right.
don't realize that you can do a short sale, keep your payments, and still buy a house.
And I had someone come in my office the other day, and they said, I've been given advice, and they could make their house payment, but been given advice to not make my payment for 4 months and then try. And I said, I understand where you got that from. There is some truth to that there are some lenders that say until you're basically in default, at 90 days, we won't talk to you. But, and these people can afford their payment, so that is not good advice at all times. Every now and again, yes, but. Let me break for station identification. You are listening to KTMP 1340, your hometown radio station. Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company. Your loan on time, every time. And we have Jeff Findarle with us today. He works at Allstar Realty as a real estate agent as well as the president of the board of Realtors. Jeff, I think we opened the door to short sales and foreclosures. Let's go there for a while.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, in fact, I was at the gas station, someone was saying, hey, I like your show, and I said, hey, the next week's going to be short sales and foreclosures. He goes, I know nothing about those.
Yeah.
And so let's go a little bit basic first.
Okay.
Assuming, like, what is it? So let's just say, what is a short sale?
A short sale is the longest real estate transaction in the history of mankind.
Yes. They all call it long sales for a reason.
Yeah. The only reason they call it a short sale is you are shorting the payoff to the bank. So you have to prove to the bank two things. One, your hardship, that you can't make your payment anymore. Number two, that your house is not worth what is owed on the loan. So they can't sell a house and pay off the loan. And so that takes a long process. So that's why it's a short sale, because you're shorting the payoff of the bank.
How much?
How
In
much?
your experience?
How much is a short?
Is
Oh
it
my gosh!
$1,000, $1 million?
Oh no! Usually, most of the short sales we do are anywhere from $50,000. I did one that was $550,000 short on the bank. Yeah, and so that's a big chunk of change.
Huge.
On the other hand, I have a little lot up in Timber Lakes right now that she only owed $17,000 on, and the bank says, we're just going to give you the lot. We don't even want to take the time to do the short sale.
Really?
Yeah, and so she has a lot, but she has these fees that have acquired, with homeowners association fees. So it's not really a short sale in that case. So it really depends on the actual situation. It doesn't matter how much it is. As agents, we're here to help you get through that mess.
How do you find out if a bank will accept a short sale?
Well, number one, in our experience, we have a team that we use, in my office under Team Jeff Real Estate, essentially. And we have a negotiation team. And what we found is if you have a viable offer that's within 20% of what market value is, that means at least 20% below market value, and you have a hardship, we submit the package, and we've had 100% success rates closing short sales.
Have you?
Yes, we have. We haven't had any that have gone south. We've always got them done. Certain things will happen in a short sale. Let's say the lender's losing $120,000 on this deal. That $120,000, they would like to get paid. And so in negotiating this, number one thing that I look at when we negotiate this is to save this client's money any way we can. He's already losing money on this house.
Right.
Why kick them when they're down type thing? And so we negotiate that out to where they get what's called a deficit release. Sometimes the lender may require a cash payment for a deficit release. For instance, I'll just give you one out. It was out in Traverse Mountain. We were doing a townhome. It's a $120,000 deficit. Well, this particular client had $5,500 in a savings account. The lender came back and says, we want a $5,000 payment to release the deficit. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, he's got $5,000 in his account. And I says, that $5,000 is to pay off these certain bills. And they said, okay, well, if you can just prove that and give us an offer, that's what we need. People have to understand that a bank usually is not the end note holder. They're a negotiator basically for their investor. And so in that particular case, this particular client was able to show that he had this $5,000 spent already. And we gave him a $500 offer to release a $120,000 deficit, and they took it. That happens time and time again. Sometimes the buyer doesn't even have to pay it. I mean, the seller doesn't have to pay it. We go after the buyer, and they'll oftentimes pay that deficit also.
So from your experience, I know you're not a banker, but why would a bank accept such a shortfall?
Well, it's better to write their losses and move on. They know statistically that if they have to foreclose on that house, go in, clean it up, whatever, because they're liable for that house now. put it back on the market with an agent, and resell it. If they had an offer as a short sale for $200,000 and they put it back on the market, which could take 3 to 6 months, maybe up to a year to get it back on the market, so they have loss of money, and they put it back on the market and they get another offer for $200,000, they just lost 15%. Statistically, historically, they know that. They don't want to be homeowners. They want to give out loans. So that's what we're seeing.
My experience, black and white numbers, when I saw a foreclosure, if I can jump that real quick, was after you looked at legal fees, after you looked at realtor commissions, after you looked at loss of interest, home remodeling, and so forth, it was $65,000 to take over the house, pay who you got to pay, get it cleaned up, and then list it and sell it. And that was about a $250,000 house.
Yeah.
So that's a number. I don't know if that's a set number, but that was a number I saw in actual numbers that a bank says. So when people say to themselves, "Hey, I have a $300,000 house and I owe $200,000, the bank would love to have this back."
Correct.
The bank might come out of it, but they don't want it.
No, they're not in real estate.
And that's why short sales, if they can stop the process, not have to go through the entire process, they say, well, we'll take our losses because we know there'll be more losses and a gamble of what we'll get at the end.
Exactly. It's about the dollar at the end of the day for them.
Okay, so I want to go down this road. Well, I want to do this. How many people are involved when you talk to people in a short sale? So you say the bank is the representative of an investor, but I know there's a third party, blah, blah, blah. How many people involved in this transaction that you got to talk to?
Well, let me tell you how it kind of goes. When I first started out doing short sales, I did all the negotiating myself. And I'm glad I did, because I learned how difficult the process is and how much time it takes. I mean, you'll spend 200-300 hours on the phone, in the time that you're doing a short sale.
This is during the time that you're working for free, right?
Yeah, you're working for free. I haven't made a dime yet. And so, this is a course of anywhere from 90 days, and I've seen them up to a year. I've got two right now it's been over a year. Lenders are just kind of taking their time on stuff. So there's a lot of time involved. We have a professional negotiator on our team that doesn't get paid unless we close this deal. Same as me, but he's really hungry. And so just to give you an idea, he called the vice president of a bank one day and saved one of our short sales that was going to foreclosure, postponed it. End story, we got the thing done, deficit released, everybody's happy. It takes time. So there's a real estate agent, and by the way, in this state, you have to be a licensed real estate agent to do a short sale. You can't just do it yourself as a homeowner. So
that's good information.
Hire an agent that knows what he's doing, and you wouldn't want to do one anyway, because you're not making any money. There's no money out of your pocket. The commissions do not come out of your pocket. It comes out of the proceeds of the sale.
Yeah, one of the stipulations will always be the homeowner gets no money.
Exactly.
They get nothing.
However, there's a program out there called HAFA.
Yeah, that's true.
HAFA will pay on relocation. I've seen it, and it'll average anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. But I had one client that got $25,000.
Really?
Blew me away. I mean, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, I thought it was a joke. I says, "Give me your number, I'll call you back." I thought it was one of my friends playing a joke on me, and I called back, and sure enough, it was Chase Bank, and they were.
And that's through the government.
Well, that was actually through Chase Bank.
Enforcement, though.
The end investor was the one that determines what happens there. This particular client had 2 loans on 2 different homes with Chase. We were doing short sales on both of them. One of them, she got $25,000 because it was a different investor than the other one. The other one, she didn't get anything. So it really depends on who the end guy is, essentially. It makes sense to me because what they do, and what they're thinking in their minds as a bank, we'll get more for the house if we keep the seller happy. We keep them in the house, taking care of the house. One of the biggest things we have problems up here, people move out. They don't tell the lender. Pipe breaks, $20,000 worth of damage. I mean, the house isn't sellable. So
there's one reason why they allow them to stay for periods of time.
Exactly.
So at least they have the furnace running and they're not having things broken while they're gone.
Shows better.
Makes more sense, doesn't it? Is a house really under contract? If you have a house listed, and you know it's going to be a short sale, and I make an offer, and the seller agrees to it, is it under contract?
Well, it's actually up to the seller. He can say, "I want to show this as under contract." But normally we don't. Normally we just keep it as an open sale to acquire backup offers, because these sales take so long. Oftentimes your primary offer is gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's no law stating that they can't go out and put offers on other houses. They're going to continue looking.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you an idea, I had one client in Utah County. We had 16 offers out on a house, on different houses.
Mm-hmm.
Never got a house.
All
So-
short sales.
All short sales.
Mm-hmm.
Never bought a home. And so there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of ways a short sale can go. You know, a seller can cancel a sale anytime. There's no obligation. So you don't hire the real estate agent. You just sign a paper saying that you're going to use him. He does all this work, and you went out to Wendover and won $200,000, and you go, hey, I'm going to pay off my loan on my house. I'm going to, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that our best interest is that client's best interest.
Mm-hmm. So, my experience, and this is maybe from the lender's point of view, maybe I'm asking the question for real. So I get these contracts on short sales. Buyer signed it, seller signed it, but we always have to wait for the bank letter.
Right, and so
Technically, that's kind of where I was going with.
it's quasi under contract.
Mm-hmm.
Realize the seller doesn't have to. At any time, he can cancel that contract. We don't advise that. We want to work this thing all the way through to the end,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really the part of a real estate agent. When they list a property as a short sale and they start taking offers, we try to find the client that's really going to close on this.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, investors. There's a lot of investors out there looking for the apple,
The screaming deal.
the screaming deal, and they're not usually willing to come up any more than what their offer is usually. Whereas a person that's moving into that's their home. They want that house.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of a little emotional attachment, and guaranteed whatever price we get is going to be below market value.
Mm-hmm.
But an investor has a certain number they're trying to make. They might want 20 or 40%, that they have to make on a house. And so it's important that we get the right buyer in there. But as we get this right buyer, we've signed it, the seller accepts this particular offer, we turn that offer into the bank, and that's the offer we're working on. And so it's called a short sale under third-party review.
Mm-hmm.
So the third party is the bank, and they're reviewing this offer, the price of the house, the hardship. When we get this letter from the bank, it's an approval letter. Okay, so number one, it'll say, you're approved at this price. This is what we'll allow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some banks will allow like a home warranty to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
Some banks will also allow like 3% in closing costs to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
And some won't.
Some won't.
So at that point, if they didn't allow those things that the buyer asked for, we have to go back to the buyer and say, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And either they say yes or no. If they say no, we go on to the backup offer and the backup offer and down the line until we find the right person that can satisfy this approval letter. Then we go under contract.
Have you ever seen a bank change their approval letter?
Yes and no. I mean, banks will do whatever they want.
Right.
Essentially,
That's
once
right.
I have an approval letter in hand, that's an approval letter. And so unless we make a change, it's that we can close with that approval letter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it goes. Basically, we're under contract when we get the approval letter and both parties are accepting the terms. The terms are good for the buyer. Is it good for the seller? Are they releasing the deficit? Oftentimes we'll get that approval letter. It'll say we want $3,000 to release the deficit.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the buyer and I say, hey, you're buying this for $25,000 less than the market. Do you have $3,000 you can pay to get this deficit released? And 90% of the time they go, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're under contract. And then we go, hey, Tom, ASAP,
Yeah, hurry.
yesterday we got to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important on short sales. Get a local lender that's used to doing them, because these national lenders, you have a lot of money on the line here, buyers.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have an appraisal that's paid for $450. You'll probably have a home inspection for $350, another $150 for radon, if
Mm-hmm.
possible, if you're going to do that. All that goes away if this thing goes south.
Mm-hmm.
So hire the professional that's going to get it done.
And it's nice to have the face-to-face.
Yes, it is.
There's
Absolutely.
something to that as well, I would have to agree. So let me just make sure, there's a couple more questions on short sales that if I were listening, I would want to make sure I understood. In a short sale, I still own the home as a
You do.
seller, correct?
Correct.
So I haven't transferred title,
Nope.
nothing, none of that kind of stuff.
Nope.
So, and the time frame that these short sales become long sales are from the offer turned into the bank to get that approval letter.
That's correct.
That's where it can take anywhere from somewhere to forever.
I mean, realistically, you're looking probably 5 to 6 months average.
Mm-hmm.
The quickest one I had was 7 days.
So it can
You know,
happen.
it can happen, but not usually.
I know I've done 2 18-monthers.
Yep. They can take a long time. If a person's in the house and they're not making the payment that time, I would suggest that they save their money. You know, because they may have to pay off some of that deficit, you know, at the end with a settlement, or you know, they just have money to move on to something else if something goes south. So, you know, the longer it takes, if you're in the house, then that can be a good thing because you can actually acquire maybe a little bit of cash to move on and better your life in the future.
One of my stories is one of the 18-monthers is they made an offer on a house for $320 to the bank. Just heard nothing. And they wait. So they submit another offer to $280. Nothing. A couple months, 3 months, another offer, about $25,000 less. Went finally after like about 16, 17 months, they made an offer of $240, and that's when the bank finally took it. And then they closed on the transaction. So 18 months, they actually saved $80,000 on the sell of that, on the price tag. Why in the world the bank? They, like I say, you know, they're in charge, but they're also not always the brightest.
Well, one of the problems we have, I think, in the lender's eyes, you know, that I've seen is they've got so many people at banks, and I'm number A, and I need to talk to Z, and B doesn't even know what's going on. And so, you know, continually we have our clients are getting letters, you know, oh, your short sale's canceled. You have to realize we're in contact with the lenders every day or two. And so we would know first if the short sale is canceled. We'll be notifying our person. But a lot of times things populate automatically and they get these letters sent out automatically. And so it kind of stresses out our clients. But at the same time, you know, we're there. We've got their back, you know. I mean, that's what we do.
Just emphasizing the point. Having a local real estate agent who knows what they're doing, who has the moral character and truly cares. You will not get that from someone over the phone, and harder to get from someone that's not in the county.
Exactly. You think about it. You know, we all make a living. We all have to make a living. And as real estate agents, we're professionals. We're trained. You know, we go to school. We have ongoing education all the time. Why wouldn't your neighbor want to help you out, you know, better than somebody that you don't even know from another county?
Could be that I'd be embarrassed.
It could be, you know, and that is a hard thing for a lot of people because, you know, they're like, and I've had people say, I don't want to put a sign up. I'm like, okay, we don't have to. And really we don't have to on a short sale because it's, you know, we just don't have to do that. But the thing you have to realize when you stop making a payment in 90 days by law, that lender's going to send you a notice. It's called the notice of default. And that notice of default is also posted down at the county.
Public record.
And so it will be seen. It gets posted in the newspaper by law. If you don't do anything else, in another 90 days, you get what's called a notice of sale. That means in 3 weeks, your house will be sold on the auction block at the county courthouse steps. So my advice to people is if you get a notice of default, contact a realtor that knows what they're doing immediately. Don't wait till you get that one that's due in 3 weeks because Bank of America takes 2.5 weeks once I start a short sale before it actually gets into their system where an actual individual will see it. That's too close to be losing your house.
So the phrase time is money is so applicable in this. And you can even equate that not only the dollars and cents of the sell the home, but how it affects your credit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's so many factors in this that time is money. And ultimately, you'd want to be contacting someone even before the 3 weeks. You'd want to say, hey, I might be going into a situation. And when I have someone in my office that says, I'm on the edge and I'm not sure what could or could not happen, what are my options? It is a night and day conversation to someone that says 6 months ago, and now I'm in this spot. And it's like, boy, what options do we have? We're down to one or a half of one, depending on what you've got. And so time is money.
It is. And my advice to anybody that is going to miss a payment is to call their lender and to talk to them about doing a loan modification if there's any way they can. Now, if they're really, really upside down, if they're upside down, like this house yesterday is $250, worth $185. That's $60,000 roughly. How long is it going to take for the market to come back? It might be 5, 10, 15 years before you get back to the point where you could sell the house and break even. So sometimes it's better to just cut your losses. Now, somebody has $5,000 or $10,000 difference. By all means,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
definitely try to do a loan modification, get that rate lowered down, and work on it that way.
You're listening to KTMP 1340, your hometown radio station, and today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company, closing loans and opening doors since 1960. We're talking with Jeff Findarle today, and we're going to actually move into foreclosures now.
Okay.
So we've talked about short sales. That is the first step. I guess loan modifications, you talked about first step, short sale, second step, and then the third step is foreclosure. Tell us a good definition of the difference between a short sale and a foreclosure.
Okay, a short sale, a couple of things. A short sale is better on your credit than a foreclosure. We talked briefly about if you don't stop making, if you still make your payments and you're able to do a short sale, that is the best thing you can do, because there are lenders out there that will give you a loan tomorrow for that if your credit's still high enough. A short sale on your credit will ding your credit, but missing a payment really screws up your credit. You know that as a lender. Now, so that's one option. Also, that deficit that is the difference, like on this particular home that we talked about that has a $60,000 deficit. If you go to foreclosure, there's no negotiating that deficit. That lender has, by law, within 90 days, can file public record default judgment against you for that $60,000. Folks, that doesn't go away. Now, you can file bankruptcy, you can do those kind of things to get rid of it, but it just makes more sense to me if you can avoid that, to do that.
Now, there's a point that needs to be made here that you just touched on. I want to make sure it's specifically described. So when you sign a promissory note, and that's what it says, I promise to pay. It's exactly the verbiage it uses. It says, I promise to pay back $250,000 at 4% interest over this period of time with this monthly payment. It doesn't say, if I have a bad time, you just take my house. Now, the house is, per the deed of trust, there as collateral to help repay it, but it's up to the bank whether they decide that it's paid in full or not. And what they're actually foreclosing on is the home against a note that you said, I owe $250,000.
Correct.
And so that's why if they take your home and there's still a deficit, is because we have a promissory note that you said you owe $250,000 and I only got $150,000 with the collateral, so you still owe me $100,000.
Exactly.
And that's the concern / question that you say, oh boy, I thought I'll just I've heard many people say, well, it's getting tough. I'll just let them take my house.
I have to.
I'll just let them take my house. And there are the stories we talked about. Someone that walked away with $25,000 in their pocket. So they hear those stories and they say, oh, I'm sure it'll work out. There's just no rhyme or reason, really, to any of this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why one got $25,000, another one has $100,000 as a judgment, chasing them down for the next forever.
Well, one reason is that she got the $25,000 is because she did a short sale. Now, it was interesting, that particular short sale, you mentioned the one 18 months. This was 2.5 years. It's when Wachovia was combining with Chase Bank, and they lost the file 4 times. Well, my seller's like, well, I don't care if they don't want to come foreclose. Let's just see what happens. So I didn't contact the bank. I just let them contact me. And lo and behold, about almost 2.5 years after we started this short sale, I get a phone call from Chase Bank, and they go, are you the agent on this house? And I said, yes, I am. Well, we feel really bad, but we lost this file. In fact, we lost the file 4 times.
You're like, I know.
And yeah, I said, yeah, I know. They said, this buyer you turned in the offer for, is he still there? And I says, what do you think? No, he's not. Do you have a buyer? And I says, I can get one. They said, well, we want to offer $25,000 if she would sell it as a short sale rather than have us foreclose. So that tells you something. That tells you that they know how much it costs to foreclose. So that's how that worked out. Now, you do a foreclosure, there's not going to be any of that on the table. That's not going to happen. I'm not saying we can get you money, but there's a better chance of getting money with a short sale. Number one, getting that deficit released.
Yep. So a foreclosure then, the difference is, as far as from your viewpoint and representing, who you're negotiating with, what's the process to get to foreclosure?
As far as if you're losing your house to foreclosure, what it works there?
Let's start there, yeah.
Okay, well, basically, remember, you get after 90 days of missed payments, you get your notice of default. 3 months. Another 3 months, you get a notice of sale. And then that's for 3 weeks later. In 3 weeks, your house goes on the auction block. So if the bank's owed $247,000 or $250,000, let's say, they will go to the auction block and they'll say, okay, we're going to start bidding at $250,000. Nobody offers because the house is worth $185,000. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes the bank will come in and say, okay, we're going to lower the starting price to $185,000. Do I have any offers? Sometimes somebody will buy it, sometimes they won't. Oftentimes it doesn't get sold,
Right.
Because it's too far upside down. So the bank takes it back. Next thing you know, you got a notice that says you have 90 days to get out. By law, they have to give you 90 days. 90 days, you're gone. You get nothing. You have a default judgment against you. Your credit is horrible, and it's not starting over. You're being born again. I mean, it's bad. So,
In my industry, that's called the F word, by the way, the foreclosure.
yeah, it's not good.
That is
It's
the
not
the
good.
heavy one. That is the heavy one. And again, if you can come, for example, let me just say this: we're being fairly negative on purpose, but I can say that if someone after their foreclosure is done comes and sees me, or someone that knows credit repair and get back on track, kind of a situation, in 3 years, you can do a real housing or FHA, but you have to have reestablished.
Right.
So this reborn thing, it's 3 years. If you want to go for conventional, it is 7, up to 7. But so it is a process. But the other thing is, lots of times emotion. I just lost my home, and you say, boy, I've just hit the bottom, and it's hard to recover. And so you just say, I'm never going to do that again. What would you say? I need to jump to that. We're going to come back to foreclosure, but because we've kind of hit a negative bottom here, I don't want to be scaring first-time home buyers or people who are getting back in the market because they've been hurt that bad. You know what I'm saying? We're talking how bad this can be and what the possibilities are.
Well,
What would your advice be to someone like that?
Things happen. Good things happen to bad. I mean, bad things happen to good people. It just happens. You lose your job. You got hurt. We live in a very active outdoor community, and so stuff happens. We ride our ATVs, we ski, we break a leg, we lose our job, we can't make our payment. That's when you need to be on the phone with your lender, because there's other options the lenders can do with you. They can sometimes rewrite the note, put the money on the end, but be actively communicating. Don't try to hide it with your lender. And
Your current lender you're talking
current
about.
lender that you're working with on your particular loan. As far as people getting into the market for first-time home buyers, I'm going to take my daughter. She grew up here. She graduated, and I don't know, she's 21 now. I don't know what that was. I got 5 kids. Can't remember them all. But she's living in Austin, Texas, because her husband's working there as a police officer. And I was talking to her a couple months ago, and I said, hey, you guys really need to start looking at trying to buy a house. You're going to be there for a while. And she says, Dad, we don't have a down payment. And I said, you don't need a down payment. You can do USDA, Rural Development USDA loan. And she says, what's that? And I says, so I told her, and I says, while I was sitting talking to her on the phone, I got on my computer, and I says, hey, there's a little town south of you called Buda. She goes, that's where we want to live. And I says, well, guess what? You can buy a house in that town. Go talk to a lender. So she got hooked up with a lender, and they just went under contract on a home. And yeah, she's seen a lot because she's seen me do a lot of short sales, and she sees a lot of stress. But at the same time, it is the best investment you could ever make. I am absolutely, I've been in real estate all my life. And Tom, I don't know about you, but you're working as a loan officer to feed your family. I'm working as a real estate agent to feed my family, to pay for college, that kind of a thing. It's the investments in real estate that have made my nest egg. And that's what I have for retirement. It will go up. Yeah, we have ups and we have downs. There's kind of a saying in real estate, there's a 7-year cycle.
Yep.
We just went down a 7-year cycle down. Now we're working up. So
I really when it's down is when you should be buying.
Exactly. And we're at, and don't try to hit the tops and the bottoms. Get on the wave. And we're on the wave right now.
Get on the wave. I agree with that when you said 13 to 15% increase in home values, right?
Exactly, last year.
So thank you. That was all right. I feel a lot better for those who were going, man, this is really a tough spot. Let's make sure we understand the process when let me back up. So someone comes to you and this is assumed, but I want to know your feeling on this. People say, well, I want to buy a house. I want to look for a foreclosure or a short sale because I want a really good deal. You always get a good deal when you go buy a short sale or foreclosure.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Especially with foreclosures. Because you remember that lender was losing that $65,000 or that 15%. They start pretty dang high on their offers.
Because they're trying to recoup.
They're trying to recoup. Well, if there's enough buyers in the market, guess what? They'll probably sell it.
Supply and demand.
Because somebody will buy that on emotion. As a short sale, yeah, you can probably buy it a little bit below market. We used to get a lot better deal on short sales, but the lenders now, it depends on who the end investor is. For instance, Fannie Mae. Everybody's heard about Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae does a really extensive appraisal. They do a BPO, which is called Broker's Price Opinion. That's another agent from a brokerage that does a CMA or a comparative market analysis like we do as an agent. And so if the CMA comes in on a house at $205,000 and Fannie Mae knows that house is worth $205,000, you're not buying that house for less than $205,000. That's what you're going to have to pay. So depending on the end investor is the kind of deal that you're going to negate. So that's really important as a real estate agent when they list a property, find out who that is so they know up front what's going to happen in the deal. So you get the right buyer.
So not always.
Not always.
Again, so I hire someone who is from the valley, who lives in the valley, who spends their money in the valley, who knows everything that's come across, that's been through the ups and the downs, to know if that is really a good deal or if it is not.
Exactly.
In all honesty, because you can say, because again, it is assumed I'm going to get a foreclosure or a short sale, and I'm going to be able to do it. But people don't understand simple economics, supply and demand.
Yeah, and one of the issues that people don't understand, I think, as buyers, is they think they see a short sale. Because a lot of people, it's a proven fact that 78% of the buyers search online before they even contact a real estate agent. So these are public websites. So the way the public website gets information is a real estate agent in the valley lists a property. He puts it in the MLS, and then the MLS populates it over to the public website. Now that can sometimes be a delay of 24 hours or 48 hours. Oftentimes, a real estate agent that lives in the valley has already been contacted by a buyer that says, I want to move up here. So what is that agent going to do? Hey, I'm listing this property.
Jump right on it.
When it comes live, you need to come look at this thing ASAP.
Because
it's
a good deal.
It's a good deal, and there's a lot of competition. And so that person takes the initiative to go ahead and come in and look at that property, puts an offer on it. So by the time it hits the public website, and Joe's down in the valley, and then he says, hey, I need to look at this house. And he calls up the agent and says, I'm sorry, we're already under contract. It's delayed information. So talk to an agent, get him to set you up on his hot sheets, coming off the MLS, to where you're the first one seeing these properties when they get listed.
Some people just know the personalities, and some people just they can't make a decision quickly, especially a big decision. So they have to process it, they have to work through it, they have to calculate it, and those are the ones that normally don't get the best ones.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I have a number of clients right now I'm working with that are buyers. One's an out-of-state California buyer, and I've been working with her for a year. I can tell you right now that a year ago that she could have bought a house 13 to 15% less than she did now, and she had a lot of choices. Now she has no choices. She's looking at building a new home. That's even more money because builders have to make money too. And so she's basically cost herself probably $50,000 to $60,000 on the price of the home that she wants to buy.
Just by processing and thinking and should I or should I not?
Right. I mean, if you see a deal and you have a CMA that tells you that this is a good deal, it's a good deal. Don't waste time. I still think it's, I'm a religious man. I still tell people, go pray about it, get the right answer. And if you got it, move on it. Don't dilly-dally.
You said something through this. You said buy on emotion.
Yes, a lot of buyers buy on emotion. I bought a lot of properties through my life, and as investments, and I don't buy on emotion. I buy on, is it going to be resellable? They look at a house, we'll walk into a house maybe that's got holes in the doors and it's got pet stains on the carpet. It smells, and they'll just get turned off. I look at that as value because I know that that's a house I can buy cheaper. For instance, the Cove, you know where that is, up here just north of Valley Hills. Home up there about 2 years ago. It was a short sale, and it ended up selling for $229,000. Tearing out the carpet and painting the house. That's all you would have had to do. You could have turned around and sold that house immediately for $300,000. There's a lot of people don't make that kind of money in a whole year. Right. That's just one deal. So you have to jump on these things. My investor was in Hawaii. I'll look at it when I get back. I said, it ain't going to be there. He missed the deal.
So if you can go into a home, and even if certainly someone who comes in and says this will be my primary residence, I'm going to raise my children here, of course there's going to be emotion.
Sure.
But we both know that everybody changes their home, at least nowadays. Now maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago they stayed in their home for the rest of their life, but almost everybody is in there for 3, 5, 7, maybe 10 years.
Well, my saying is they lose the love and feeling in 4 to 5 years.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, basically you buy the house, you love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in 4 to 5 years, now I got to repaint it. You know, you're kind of looking down the road, and you go, you know what? There's a nice house over there in that neighborhood, and I'd like to move over there. And you know what? It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to sell. The smart thing is if you buy right,
Mm-hmm.
you can sell it, break even, or maybe make some money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing I want to talk about real quick
Mm-hmm.
is as a homeowner, we have a couple of things that are really good. Now, my daughter, she was looking at buying a house, you know, and she says, well, Dad, you know, we might just rent. I said, what's it going to cost you for, you need a 3-bedroom house. She's pregnant with her second child. And I said, what's it going to cost? She goes, $1,400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, go talk to a lender. So they're buying this house right now. Guess what their payment is? $1,410.
Yeah.
Plus, she didn't realize that her interest is
Tax deductible.
tax deductible. So the $18,000 a year in interest that she's going to pay
Mm-hmm.
comes off of her income.
Right.
So she doesn't pay tax on that amount.
Mm-hmm.
So that amount right there will give her a refund check, as opposed to last year when she's renting.
Right.
Probably in the neighborhood of about $3,000 to $4,000.
Right.
So,
And over 10 years, that's
It's a lot of
30 to
money.
40,000 bucks.
It's a lot of money, and so here is a person that normally would be renting is paying about the same payment as a rental, that's actually making $3,000 to $4,000 a year that they can put in their savings, plus equity on the house as it increases in value and appreciates. Absolutely the best.
And she's going to do a real housing loan, which is 0% down.
0%.
No money out of your
well,
pocket.
It's $500, isn't it? Something like that.
For an appraisal.
Yeah.
For an
It's like
appraisal.
no big deal. So, and these are kids. Let me tell you. And he went through the academy, and I've had to help him out a little bit here and there. And but they're very frugal.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have cable or anything because they're trying to save their money to buy a house. And so, it's just great to see young people making good decisions that are going to help them down the future.
Exactly. So we're on the tail end. We've just got a few minutes. Give us your wisdom and final advice for the next couple of minutes for somebody, if I were looking to buy or sell. Give me some advice.
First thing, if you're a buyer, the first thing is to go contact a local lender. Go get hooked up with a good local lender. And, Tom, you're a great one. There's, and we know that you're not the only one in the world, but in your world you are, but in your wife's world, I know. That
Yeah,
you are,
yeah.
So, and in my world, you really are too.
Thank you.
But, there are a lot of lenders, but the first thing is find out what you can do. You'll often find, even today, they'll say, well, you're approved for a $225,000 house. The next question out of your mouth should be, what's the payment?
Mm-hmm.
If they say, well, that payment's going to be $1,500 a month, say, no.
That's right.
I can only budget $1,300. Then they'll tell you, oh, well, that'll buy you a $190,000 house. That's what you need to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, contact a local realtor. Ask people who have used real estate agents. Who have you used?
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, I'm sorry, she has an agent right now that just cost her a refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
and it was bad. It was a bad deal. And my daughter was so upset about it. And I says, well, honey, what do you think about it? What are you going to do about it? She says, I'm going to go get my real estate license so I can help people write. And I thought, great.
Good for her.
So, that's what I would do as a buyer. As a seller, you want to, talk to different people who have sold homes. Interview agents. Work with the one that you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
If something doesn't seem right, then go to somebody else. There's quite a few agents in the valley. We have 70. We have a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of top agents in the valley
Mm-hmm.
that have a lot of great awards, that sell a lot of properties all year.
Yep.
There's nothing magical that an agent can do over another agent other than helping relieve the stress of you selling your home and trying to get the most that you can. Agent websites, be honest, who online is going to go to agent websites? It's probably not going to happen. They're going to go to the MLS,
Mm-hmm.
or they're going to talk to an agent and get hooked up on a hot sheet. So please contact a local realtor, hire one that's going to help you.
Yeah.
As far as trying to sell it by yourself, you'll make more money selling it with a realtor. It is absolutely historically
Mm-hmm.
a fact that if you hire a real estate agent, you'll make more money. Yeah, you got to pay commissions. You'll still make more money because you're going to be out there fishing with a net instead of fishing with just one line in the water. You're trying to catch that trophy buyer. Well, if you got a net, it's going to be a lot better because an agent has a net of tons of real estate agents.
On top of the fact that I ask many of them, I'm like, you seem like really nice people to my clients. And they say, oh, well, thank you. And I said, and guess what nice people do in negotiations? They get taken advantage of. And they're like, yeah. And I said, if you aren't the kind of person that can be emotionally removed from this situation and be able to talk through, not only get the person, but know how to negotiate. I completely agree that 99.9, I guess there's that one or two that could do it. But 99.9, if you get the real estate agent who is a go-getter, who can have all the access, puts it on Caravan, talks about it, and then when it comes time to negotiations, negotiates the price and knows where to stick. And, because you can say, people say, I got my price. Oh, but then you also gave up closing costs and you paid for this and paid for that. So no, actually you're down 10, 12,000. Well, that's true, but. So anyway, so thank you. Great advice. Great advice. Jeff works at Allstar Realty. How do they get a hold of you?
You can give me a call at 435-503-0514. That's 435-503-0514. Or my email's really simple also. It's just jf@allstarutah.com.
And then where's your office?
We are right across from Taco Time, north end of Main Street in Heber City. It's the first real estate agent that you're going to hit when you come into town on the right.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much. I'm telling you, I learned stuff, and I'm in the business. You're good at what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
My disclaimer, this is the fun part of the show. I have to say this, and I try and go as fast as I can. Margot back at my office does not like when I talk this fast. She thinks it sounds dumb, but I'm going to do it anyway. Guild Mortgage Company, NMLS 3274, Equal Housing Lender. Tombstone, NMLS 257849. The information contained in this training has been prepared and distributed for educational purposes only and do not represent the opinions of Guild Mortgage Company. Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company, closing loans and opening doors since 1960. We're located at 175 North Main Street, and our phone number is 435-654-9979. Jeff, thanks again for coming in.
Appreciate the opportunity. I'm here to help.
And next week, we're going to have Wade Kelson on talking about some of the legal ramifications that we deal with investment scams and as well real estate and how to protect ourselves that way. So next week at 10 a.m. But thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you next week.